as a chair, all of that. Only use them to make other things.
Okay. Reusables of our plastic bottles
And
and okay. It was last week I was discussing with a friend and I told this my friend out the biggest eatery here in my would not even tell them to have it with my cooler. And this friend looked at me and he was like, Are you okay? Are you sick? This is actually a place where you can um time to others. My beautiful thing is that we know it gets to a point sorry, I'm just trying to create a background knowledge about what you are going to discuss tonight. It gets to a point whereby I okay, our speaker is ready right now, but let me just finish this speech before I hand over to him. It got to a point whereby I noticed that the more we tell our people in the environment not to do things, the more they do it. But then I create a new strategy that while you are telling them not to do things, tell them the reason why they should not do it. Give them the disadvantages of if they should do those actions, what are the repercussions of what they are doing. So with that, they were able to have good knowledge of the right thing to do at the right time. So this time around, our speaker is ready for us, and I'll be inviting him to take over from me. Yes.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Please, if you can hear me, let me see some messages in the chat box.
Why percent?
Am I talking to yourself? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Kechi, and it's my privilege to take us on this journey um, to understanding climate change and taking action. So, without wasting much of our time,
But now, when I check it, I see that
I don't know who is whose mic is
Yeah,
muted. I
other people who are not talking with
don't
their mic.
yes, I don't know if I can put
know
maybe a table.
if,
There's no problem. That will be after. Yes, and not during spa. Who will be monitoring it?
And we also greet everyone.
my name is Chris Ikechi. Like I said before, it's my privilege to take us on this beautiful journey of understanding climate change and also taking action. So we all know that Greenswitch Academy, the academy we've been enjoying for a few days now, is the product of Talking Nigeria, and Yeah, Plugin Nigeria have been doing tremendously well, so I wouldn't have much time to talk about work itself as I would like to because it's actually a very, very good one. So let's just dive right into it and see how much you can learn today. So I like to interact. I like questions. I like answering them. So if you don't understand anything, I expect you to ask questions. Maybe at the end of my presentation. Yeah. So make sure you have your pen and your paper, your notepads ready to take down knowledge because I'm very sure that you're going to learn a few things. So, like I said before, we'll be focusing on understanding climate change and taking action. So it's a two-pronged issue. We need to understand what climate change is, understand um, the the things that constitute climate change, why climate change is a problem, how we can solve this problem, options that we have to solve this problem, and then we can talk about the actions that we can take to solve the problem of climate change. So just hang in there, sit tight, and enjoy the presentation. Thank you. So without so much ado, let's just dive into it. So what is climate change and what is weather? So climate change, first of all, if you think about what climate in itself is, I don't know if anybody here can um in the chat room try to explain to us what climate is and then what weather is. So if you have that two explanations, you can now bring them together to explain or try to understand what the word climate change is. Because most of the time, people don't understand the difference between weather and climate change and climate, sorry, not climate change. No. So, um, if you think you understand what climate is and you think you understand what weather is, you can just drop message in the chat box or you can speak if you want to speak. Nobody seems to understand what climate is and what weather is. Please, am I still audible? Can you still hear me? Okay, we have Babatunde in the group, in the chat, saying that climate is the weather condition of a region over a period of time. This is perfect. This is what climate is all about. It's the weather condition of a particular region. It's specific to a region over a period of time. So you need time and then you need place. You need a time and a place to have a climate. So there must be a time frame, then uh there will be a place specifically being discussed for you to have what we call climate. So did anybody give us weather? Okay. Babatunde also, Babatunde, you're on fire tonight. It says weather is the atmospheric condition of a region over a short period. So the atmospheric condition of a region over a short period is known as the weather condition in that period, over that period of time that is being considered. So if you look at I think Rosemary said something very, very similar to what Babatunde said. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that. So um if you look at the two definitions, it's not very clear. It's not very easy to pick out the differences between the two, but we can summarize that to have that Climate refers to the average weather pattern and condition of a specific region over a considerable period, typically spanning decades or centuries. While weather refers to the short-term and immediate atmospheric condition observed at a specific amount over a relatively brief period of typically ranging from hours to a few days. So the difference between climate and weather is just time. So for you to talk about climate, you need to be discussing long term. You need to be discussing a time span of years, decades, and centuries. For you to be talking about weather conditions, you should be talking about short time span, like a few hours to a few days. So for you to be able to differentiate between what climate is and what weather is, you just have to ask the question of how long are we talking about? What's the time frame we are discussing? What's the time frame that we're focusing on? Once you have this data, you should be able to differentiate what's climate, and what weather. So in summary, climate represents the long-term average of weather patterns over an extended period, reflecting the overall climate characteristics of a region. Weather, on the other hand, refers to short-term and immediate atmospheric condition observed at a particular moment over a relatively brief period. So, from the definition or from what I just read out to you, you should understand, like I said before, the difference between the two is time. Time is just the difference between what we call climate and what we call weather. So, moving forward, real quick. So, what is climate change? Climate change is a change in the average temperature and cycles of weather over a long period of time. So, I would like us to try to follow through, because the lecture is kind of progressive. You learn more as we go. Because if you didn't understand what the difference is between weather and climate, you will not really understand what climate change is, because you need to understand that climate has to do with a longer time span. So if you have that in mind, you can look at climate change now and term it as the average temperature and cycles of weather over a long period of time, which is what we associated with climate, right? So if you're with me, you can say something in the chat room so that I will know that you're listening, and of course you're learning a few things. Um, so since the 1880s, scientists have kept thermometer-based records of global temperature. So we have data to back up our claim that the climate is changing. That's what um, we're basically trying to say here. So there is data backing up the claim that the climate is changing over a period of time, over a long period of time. So what is happening to the global temperature? The planet is becoming warmer, the climate is changing. And if you look at the graph I have, you look at its temperature anomaly data from the 1880s to 2016. And you will see very clearly that the average temperature of the planet have rose um, at like it's increasing over time, which is not good, which is it's not what we want for our planet, because the planet is designed in a certain way for it to be able to give life and sustain life. The planet should operate at a certain optimal temperature. And now we are going way beyond that optimal temperature, which is very alarming. So the temperature of the planet is rising. The planet is becoming warmer. I'm not sure that we want to agree to this. Now tapping into the theme of the academy, no green, just green. You understand? So this is not something we should agree with. So I say no green. So moving forward real fast. Give me a second. Give me a second. So this right here. Okay. Yeah. So why is climate change a problem? Ebenezer, I can't hear anything. Ebenezer, are you with us? Is everybody else like Ebenezer that can't hear anything? Okay, Eliezer, sorry. Eliezer, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please drop a message in the chat box so that I can know that you're with me. Let's do that quickly. Okay, thank you, Suleiman and Zainab. I see you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for paying attention. So, um, moving forward, I'm trying to look at why is climate change a problem. So, for most people, they don't really understand why it's a big deal for us to be talking about climate change. Why should we be worried about the little increase in temperature over a period of time of our planet? So, we're going to look at why this is a problem to us, to the environment, to the animals, and to the planet at large. So, sorry. Over millions of years, species become adapted to survive in conditions in which they live. A stable climate supports this process and allows living things to thrive. If the climate changes quickly, organisms don't have enough time to adapt to new conditions and may no longer be able to survive. So, what I'm trying to let you understand here is the fact that I don't know if you heard the saying that old dogs don't learn new tricks. Now imagine having to subject the old dog to learn new tricks and time it, like the old dog has to learn these new tricks within a very short period of time. You are basically trying to say that, like, put the old dog in a situation where it cannot survive. So that is what is happening to us. So biological evolution is not a fast process. It takes time. It takes time for organisms, human beings, animals, and the likes to develop various levels of resistance, various levels of adaptability to their environment. It takes time. They do these things over time. Now, if the climate is changing so rapidly and affecting the planet, it means that the animals, the human beings, the organisms, the planet itself have to adapt, have to evolve at a faster rate over a short period of time to keep up with these changes, which is not really feasible for most of these organisms, most of these animals, even we human beings. We take time to adapt to survive in certain environments. So that is why climate change is a problem. Still on the issue of why climate change is a problem, climate change disrupts weather patterns and causes extreme weather events to become more common. This includes hurricane activities, drought, and floods. As the global temperature has increased, so has the number of reported natural disasters. So, this is why data is so important. Data is um, data is so important to understanding the effect climate change has on us as human beings and the environment, even the planet at large. So the one of the dangers or one of the problems we face with climate change is the fact that because of the change in the weather patterns, the weather conditions become extremely um they become very much unpredictable. So you have a lot of um natural disasters that we are not used to, that normally wouldn't happen, but they occur because the weather is unbalanced, the climate is unbalanced, and when the climate is unbalanced, the planet itself becomes unbalanced. So climate change causes natural disasters and other um, activities that are detrimental to us, that are detrimental to the environment, that are detrimental to the planet itself. So that is why climate change is a problem. One of the reasons why climate change is a problem. So moving forward, still on the topic of why climate change is a problem, rising temperatures are causing sea levels to increase. The rising water level can cover coastal areas, destroying habitats and displacing whole population from low-lying areas. So I don't know if any of us are from the coastal areas. If you are from the coastal areas, you will understand the devastating effect that climate change is having on people living on coastal areas. So coastal areas are areas that lands that are closer to the oceans or the seas. You understand? So when these climate change issues come up, they cause the ocean level to rise. When this ocean level rise, it means the bank of the river or the ocean is being overflown, and the people living around these places are either displaced or in extreme condition it causes death also. So these are issues that we face because of climate change. So rising sea levels are driven by two main processes: the ice melting and the thermal expansion. So ice melting is basically when temperature and ocean get warmer, ice sheets and glaciers melt, resulting in additional fresh water to the ocean. So we know about the Antarctica, where we have a lot of ice sheets. So when the ocean gets warmer, they melt this ice sheet. So when water melts, when ice melts, it turns to water. So we have more water in our oceans than the ocean can contain. So the ocean has to expand its bank, has to extend its bank. And where else does it get more grounds to cover from the grounds that human beings and other animals use as their habitat? So that is one of the problems. Thermal expansion is just talking about as the ocean water gets warmer, it expands, causing levels to rise. So basically, if you did any form of chemistry, you will understand this. So when water is heated, it expands, and when there is expansion, definitely the ocean will need more space to contain all the water, and there is no other place to get the space, like I said, than from the habitats of other organisms and the coastal areas that we talked about before. So, still on the topic of why climate change is a problem, the increase in global temperature is causing reduction in sea ice. This causes problem for animals that depend on the ice to hunt, mate, and sleep. So, basically, the polar bear is one of the endangered species of animals we have, and right now that is that can be traced down to the loss of sea ice, which is basically where they breed, where they live, where they hunt, and where they sleep and mate. So it's making us to lose some level of biodiversity in that regard. I think I have a message here that says still can't hear me, Elieza. Okay, finally you can hear me. Chuku became says he can't hear me. Please, is there anyone else like Chuku became, or you guys can hear me? Please, if you can hear me, just drop a message so that I will know you're following. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chisom. Thank you, Chisom. Suleiman, thank you very much. So, moving forward, on still on the topic of why climate change is a problem. So we're looking at the bright surface of ice reflects 80% of the sunlight that hits it back into the space. This keeps the the polar region cool and moderate the global climate. When the area of sea ice is reduced, less sunlight is reflected back into space. This causes more ocean warming and reduces the sea ice even further. So basically, yeah, what this what I'm trying to let you understand here is, so we have a picture. There's an orange line. The orange line shows you the initial size of the eyes, white eyes, as at from 1981 to 2010. Now, from the white portion shows you how, like, the current size of the ice sheet as at 2020. So what this picture is trying to make you understand is this ice sheet have drastically reduced over time, and they keep reducing. And the only thing you can say that this causes is the global temperature keeps rising as a result of this, because like I said, the ice sheet, they reflect some back into space, which keeps help us to moderate global climate. So when we lose most of this ice, definitely it will have a negative impact on the environment. Still on the case of why climate change is a problem. So no matter how fast we act, the global temperature is set to continue rising as a result of greenhouse gases that are already in the atmosphere. The problems that we already experience are going to worsen. You understand? So basically, we are already behind schedule. We are definitely already behind schedule. So how can we, what can we do? How much difference do you think 0.5 Celsius increase in global temperature can make? How much difference do you think 0.5 Celsius increase in global temperature can make? How much difference do you think that can make? Do you understand? So these are the issues that we face because of climate change. So I'll be moving very fast. Mm, okay, sorry, I need to attend to something. Just give me 2 minutes. I will be back. Just 2 minutes. This Sam, if you're here, if you can hear me, please just give me 2 minutes. I will be back.
Okay, no problem, sir. Hope you are following, guys. You can start noting down your questions if you have. Yes, you can't hear anything because our speaker is sorting out some things for the time being. That's why I said if you have any questions, just note them down. Pending the time, he will be back on the call. He requested for 2 minutes just now. Don't panic, guys. It's not network. It's a
Okay. Thank you for waiting for me. I just wanted to get something sorted over here. So I hope we're learning. I hope we're learning something. Please, if you're getting anything from the presentation so far, please can you say something in the chat for us? Encourage me, please. Please encourage me. I think I need that right now. Hope you can hear me though.
yes, we can, sir.
All right. Sorry for the short break, but we're back, and of course we're going to continue from where we stopped. So we're looking at we're still looking at why climate change is a problem, and if you're looking at the slide, you see I talk about coral bleaching, species loss, drought, rise in sea levels. These are all issues that we face because of climate change. These are all issues we face because of climate change. So I'm sure we know what drought is. We know what we mean when we say the sea level is rising. It means that the the ocean is rising above, overflowing the bank that we naturally expect it to have. So species losses means when for example when the sea level rises and water encroaches the coastal areas, all the species or the organisms that use those spaces as their habitat are washed away, which results in species losses. Of course, coral bleaching, when certain species of weeds are being submerged in water. Imagine a grass that is expecting sun to shine on it and then to grow so beautiful. Suddenly, it's now underwater. So coral bleaching will occur. I think that's about this. So now we're going to be looking at what causes climate change. I'll try to move as fast as I can, so that we can definitely finish and on time. So before I continue, I'd like us to, in the chat box, just tell me what do you think causes um climate change? What do you think are the reasons we have climate change issues? Just briefly in the chat. I'm reading on there. Guys, what do you think causes climate change? Anybody? I'm sure we've learned a few things during the academy, and we should be able to say basic stuff, basic things about this particular topic. What causes climate change? Harmful gases such as carbon monoxide, deforestation, environmental pollution. Hassan, that's very good. Zainab, that's very good. Chisom, I see you. Bush burning, definitely. Yeah, so a lot of things actually to or causes climate change. And one of the major ones is the emissions. So carbon dioxide, that's CO2, methane, CH4, and water vapor, H2O, are greenhouse gases. They are found in the atmosphere. So now, energy travels from the sun to the earth as shortwave radiation. It does not interact strongly with the greenhouse gas molecules, so it reaches the earth till it reaches the earth surface. So the earth surface emits long wavelength radiation. This does interact with the greenhouse molecules. The greenhouse gases molecules absorb some of this energy, trapping it in the atmosphere. This process keeps the earth warm and is essential for life. Now, if you are a science student, you must have come across some of these things I'm talking about. The idea of the reason why Earth is so specifically designed in a way that it supports life. So this process that I just described is what makes Earth so unique and important. So the higher proportion of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the more radiation is absorbed. This causes a rise in the temperature of the earth and is known as the greenhouse effect. This increase in temperature drives climate change. So basically, yeah, these greenhouse gases by default in their natural state are not designed to harm us or the environment or the climate or the planet itself. But because there are a lot of these gases in the atmosphere, the absorption, the rate of radiation absorption is faster now. It's faster than uh, optimal. Let me put it that way. It's faster than expected. It's faster than is required, which now causes um, a rise in the temperature of the earth, which we all call the greenhouse effect. So the greenhouse effect causes an increase in the temperature of the planet, the average temperature of the planet. And basically, this is what we call climate change. So, what causes climate change? Climate change can be caused gradually by natural processes or suddenly by large events such as massive meteoric strike or volcanic activity. However, the rapid climate change we are experiencing now is due to three main human activities. Like some of us have mentioned, burning fossil fuels, deforestation of biodiversity. I think we basically mentioned all the three that I have listed here. So for heating and cooking, generating electricity and powering vehicles, we release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Remember, carbon dioxide is one of the greenhouse gases, right? So for deforestation, destruction of forests releases carbon dioxide and reduces the number of trees that are able to capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So we breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide. The trees take in carbon dioxide, capture it from the environment. So when we have less trees, it is detrimental to the environment. It is detrimental to the planet. So deforestation, which is the process of destruction of forests and cutting down trees, is definitely a problem. So reduction of biodiversity creates an unstable ecosystem. Nature loss leads to ecosystems that are less able to capture carbon from the atmosphere and less resilient to the rising temperature. So basically, what I'm trying to capture here is we need to appreciate the beauty in the diversity, in biodiversity, which allows um, all the organisms, human beings, the planet itself, and what have you, to interact in certain way that enables us to live, enables us to support each other in our quest to live even much longer on this planet. So when we have a reduction in biodiversity, definitely it becomes a problem because there is an we have an unstable ecosystem which results in the inability of the these these organisms being what they are supposed to be in to capture carbon and help us reduce the greenhouse gases that in long term causes the rise in temperature which we experience even to this day. So now the next question we're going to answer is who causes climate change? So I have a little chart. I have a little chart here, and the 50 least developed countries are thought to have contributed to just 1% of the greenhouse gases that have caused global warming. The US, the EU, and China alone have contributed to around 60%. So basically, yeah, the developed countries, the modern countries, the more advanced countries have contributed the most to climate change. I mean, 60 over 100, that's a pass mark. That's a very huge pass mark. So 60% is is coming from the US, the EU, and China alone. So that tells you how much damage these developed countries have caused to our planet and the environment itself. So having looked at who causes climate change, we now look at who does climate change affect. I don't think anybody needs to be given an award for answering this question because in the long term, everyone will feel the effect of climate change. However, some people are currently more affected than others. In most cases, the wealth of prosperous countries have come from activities which contribute to greenhouse gas emission. This wealth allows these countries to protect themselves from the effect of climate change. Now, it's left for the poorer countries who are less able to adapt to climate change and therefore suffer the most from. They are also less able to develop because they need to focus on addressing the challenges caused by climate change. So, looking at who does climate change affect, it is very clear that the underdeveloped or the developing countries are being affected more. And from when we look at who causes climate change, we will find out that these people that suffer the most contribute the least to this problem. So that is something that is unbalanced, if you ask me, and needs to be addressed. So the countries who have contributed the least to the climate crisis are the ones who are affected the most. Is this fair? Do you think this is fair? You go agree? So basically, it's not fair. If you ask me, it's not fair. And me, I don't agree. I don't agree at all because you can't tell me that the US, the Chinas of this world, the Germanys, and what have you are out there causing the harm, and I have to bear the brunt. That is not fair by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm very, very sure that will agree. Um, After learning all these things today, so who can fix the problem? So I listed a few things here. So first of all, governments can make laws and policies that reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emission. So basically, when it comes to policies and handling issues like this, government is definitely one of the go-to place that we run to for policies like this, for laws that can help us to contain, because like I said before, we are already behind schedule. Like we no matter what we do now, we are already. What we can do is to manage the situation and try to find solutions to it, and laws and policies of governments can help us do that. Corporate organizations can make conscious effort to combat climate change by making sure all aspects and levels of decision making within the organization and other external spheres of influence has the environment favorably considered. So what this place is trying to make us understand that apart from government, big corporate organizations talk about Microsoft, uh, Google, and all the big corporations that we know. Uh, they can help us fix this problem because definitely most of the activities that they engage in is what is causing this problem. So it is their responsibility, their social responsibility to be able to help us fix this problem. So if these organizations can have the environment at the center of their mind when making decisions in all areas or stages or levels um, of decision making in these organizations, if this can happen, then it will help us in this fight against climate change. So the next um, person or people that can help us to fix this problem is me and you. We can also use our voices to let businesses and governments know that we want them to act quickly to reduce their impact on climate change. So sometimes the government and the big corporations they don't really see the need they don't see the need to jump and spring into action, but we can help them lending our voice by putting pressure in any capacity that we can to help them realize that this is actually something that needs urgent attention from everybody and a conscious effort needs to be made for us to be able to manage and hopefully scale through this problem of climate change. Having looked at all the problems and all the issues that climate change causes to us as human beings and the environment, the planet itself, it is very paramount. It's very paramount that we are able to put ourselves in a position where we can lend our voice to this cause, and hopefully we can make a lasting difference. So, looking at some of the ways that we can tackle climate change or some of the solutions to climate change, I'll be focusing mostly on technology as a solution for mitigating climate change. I didn't really have much time, so I didn't really go into introducing myself that much, but I can tell you right now that I am into the tech space and I am one of the people that believe that tech can be a very good solution, can give us very, very wonderful solutions to most of the problems we are facing, which includes climate change. So I'll be looking at some of the ways that technology can help us solve or mitigate the issue of climate change. So blockchain technology has the potential to contribute to mitigating climate change in several ways, which includes carbon footprint tracking, emission trading, renewable energy certificates, supply chain transparency, management, climate finance and funding. So these are some of the ways that blockchain technology can help us mitigate climate change. I don't have much time, so I wouldn't really go into explaining each of these terms specifically or directly. But I think if you just do a simple Google search of what carbon footprint tracking is, emission trading, renewable energy certificates, supply chain transparency, you will have enough information to guide you through the understanding at least the basics of what um each of these things that I listed here, how it can help us to mitigate climate change. So it's worth noting that while blockchain technology has significant potential, it also faces challenges of its own, such as scalability, energy consumption, and regulatory frameworks. However, with further development and adoption, blockchain can be a valuable tool in mitigating climate change and promoting sustainability. So another technological solution I'll be looking at is cloud/web services. This can contribute to mitigating climate change in several ways, which include virtualization and remote work, utilization of services, energy efficiency, data analytics and optimization, sustainability, awareness and education, carbon footprint calculation tools, collaboration, and knowledge sharing. So, um, these 7 things I listed are ways that cloud and web services can help us mitigate climate change. So, like I said, I might not really have the time to explain each of them one after the other, but when you look at visualization and remote ministry, I can just explain that real quick. So, visualization and remote work is basically the idea that if I'm able to work from home, for example, then I don't need to drive to work, and I don't need to have, for example, when I leave my house, I probably have light in the house, and that's electricity in the house, and then I leave it, and then I get to work where there is no NEPA in code, and then we have to on generator. And generator, we know it contributes to the emission of CO2 to the environment, which in turn causes climate change. So if I'm able to work from home, it takes out that it reduces the the CO2 that will be released into the environment, starting from the generator that needs to be on in the office, the car that I need to board to get to work, and all that. So these are ways that cloud and web services can help us to mitigate climate change. So it's essential for web developers to adopt sustainable practices themselves, such as using green hosting providers, optimizing server infrastructure, and adopting clean coding practices. By incorporating sustainability principles into web development processes, developers can make a meaningful contribution to mitigating climate change and building a more environmentally conscious digital ecosystem. So the next technology that I'll be looking at is data science slash AI. So we all know what AI is. Most of you here you use ChatGPT for even when they ask you what is your name, you use ChatGPT to answer it. So ChatGPT is a type of AI that is a language model. So enormous potentials that data science and AI give us that will help us to mitigate climate change. So listed here are some of the ways. So climate modeling and prediction, renewable energy integration, energy efficiency, smart grid optimization, emission monitoring and management, carbon footprint analysis, sustainable agriculture and land use, climate risk assessment, and adaptation. So basically, these 8 things I listed here are ways that we can use data science as a tool to mitigate climate change. So climate modeling and prediction, renewable energy integration, energy efficiency, smart grid optimization, emission monitoring and management. So I am very much interested in emission monitoring and management using data science and AI. So if we're able to design systems that can be able to monitor and manage emissions. So when I say monitor and manage emissions, imagine you have a system that can be able to monitor how much CO2 you as a person or as a company or as an organization have released to the environment in the past 1 hour, in the past 1 month, in the past 2 months. This will help you to be able to develop um develop a kind of monitoring process that allows you to monitor how much CO2, for example, that you release to the environment, which by default will help us to fight against climate change, will help us to not contribute so much to climate change. So data science is a powerful tool in understanding, mitigating, and adapting to climate change. By leveraging data-driven approaches, predictive modeling, and advanced can support evidence-based decision making, optimize resource allocation, and contribute to a more sustainable and resilient future. So yesterday, I think you guys learned about waste management, and I'm sure the person that handled the topic yesterday told you about how technology can be used in waste management, especially in the case of um, smart waste bins, which can where waste bins are able to send signals that they are full. For example, send signals that they are half full, or send or allow you to separate waste at all. So these are some of the things or the ways that technology, data science, and AI can help us to mitigate climate change. So I hope you guys are still with me. Please, if you're with me, I like to see some chats in the chat room, some messages of encouragement and telling me that you're learning so that I can continue. I have the energy to continue. Hopefully, you are learning one or two things. Um, thank you, Awe. So, another technology tool that we'll be looking at um, right now is IoT, so Internet of Things. So, we'll be looking at ways that Internet of Things can help in climate change. So, I don't know if you understand what Internet of Things is. So, it has to do with it's mostly programming, being able to control what happens in your environment through technology. So, some of the ways that IoT can help us mitigate climate change is energy management and efficiency, smart grid optimization, environmental monitoring and conservation, precision agriculture, smart transportation and logistics, waste management and recycling. I think I've explained that. Forest fire detection and prevention. So IoT, like I said, is it allows us to manage or control what happens in our environment. So, for example, if you have an IoT system that is able to dictate forest fire and then signal the right authorities, so it means that we don't need to have our bush burning already before we get the signal. So once the fire started, the signal will be sent and the appropriate authority will take the necessary step to stop the fire from expanding to certain regions and getting out of hand. So these are some of the ways that technology can help us. So in summary, the IoT has immense potential to mitigate climate change by optimizing energy usage, enhancing environmental monitoring and conservation efforts, promoting sustainable agriculture, improving transportation efficiency, optimizing waste management, and enhancing forest fire prevention. By leveraging the power of connected devices and real-time data, the IoT enables smarter and more sustainable practices across various sectors, making significant contribution to climate change mitigation. So the possibilities are like endless. And I would like to say this. I like to say this. I like these spheres or these technologies that I've been talking about, they are not rocket science. These are things that if you're somebody that is invested in conserving your environment, fighting climate change, these are things that you can look into, do a bit of research around them, learn more about them, and see how you, as a person, as an individual, can help um, bring this solution to reality. So, if there's anything you're going to learn from this class today, it's the fact that you are empowered, you have the knowledge base, the basic knowledge. You're allowed to have the basic knowledge of these things so that you can, in your own right, on your own space, implement them, which can help us to mitigate climate change. So, New opportunities. New opportunities. The transition to a low carbon country in the years ahead brings with it many opportunities. Innovation is the process of turning an idea into a solution that solves a problem. Transitioning to low carbon economies will provide lots of opportunity for innovation. There will be a need for people leaving education to do things differently, to come up with new ideas for products and technologies, and to explore new conservation methods. These opportunities are exciting. They are very, very exciting. In jobs markets. In the future, you may be applying for jobs that exist yet. So, like I said, it's a challenge to us that have this information now to go in, do our research, and try to bring out these solutions that we're talking about and provide these new opportunities that we're talking about that will help us mitigate climate change and also drive us to the next level of our evolutions as human beings. So the sustainable development goals, in the year that the Paris Agreement was signed, sustainable development goals, the SDGs, were adopted by the United Nations member states. 17 goals set out of all things that need to be achieved to protect the planet and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity. So I'm not going to go into explaining what the SDG is. I believe every one of us must have heard about the SDGs. And if you look at the SDGs, you see that they are well crafted, they are specific and intentional in what they are trying to achieve. And the 17 of them have been developed to help us achieve peace and prosperity among all people. So some of the goals are to do with the state of our planet. Some of them are deal with hunger, life underwater, of course. So goal 13 is specifically for what we're talking about today, which is climate action. So goal 13 is something that we must agree with. Do you understand? We have to agree. This one is not no agree. We agree. We have to agree. We don't get choice. We have to agree with goal 13, which is climate action. So I'll just skip this and go to finding a balance. So how do we find a balance in all these issues? Like we said, we already know we are behind. We already know we are behind in this fight against climate change. So striking the right balance requires integrated approach that acknowledges the interconnectedness of environmental, economic, and social dimensions. Solutions that prioritize one aspect at the expense of the other are unlikely to be sustainable in the long term. So what I try to point out from this first bullet point is the fact that for us to strike the right balance in this fight against climate change, we need to consider all the interconnected knowledge, that of the environment, the economics that is attached to it, and the social dimensions of it. So if we consider these three together, we'll find a very optimal solution to our problem. But when we start considering one aspect without considering the other, we find out that we have a solution that will not last as long as we want it to. So achieving balance involves making trade-offs, reconciling conflicting interests, and seeking win-win opportunities. It requires collaboration, compromise, and creativity to find synergies and optimize outcomes across multiple domains. So for us to find this balance, we need to make compromises. We need to reach agreements. We need to, because like I said, the government, we as individuals, and the big corporations. Big corporations are mostly about profits. They don't really like naturally we don't see them as people that care about the environment. They are all about how much they make from whatever they are doing. Do you understand? So, but if we are able to find solution, like I said, that takes care of the need of the three aspects, that the environment, economic, and social dimensions, then we are definitely on the right track. So by embracing holistic strategy that addresses the triple bottom line of people, planets, and profits, societies can foster resilience, promote prosperity, and safeguard the planet for future generations. So this last bullet point basically is trying to let us know that if we when looking for solutions to climate change, we should have the people, the planet, and profits at the back of our mind. So when we talk about the people, it talks about the we. When we talk about the planet, talk about the government. And then when we talk about profit, we talk about the big corporate organizations, because at the end of the day, they are all for profit. So they need to make profits at the end of the day. But if we find solutions that can take into consideration all these three things, all these three bottom lines, then we'll have a solution that is going to go a long way solving this problem of climate change. So in essence, finding the right balance involves harmonizing environmental protection, economic development, and social justice to create a more sustainable and resilient world. It requires collective action, visionary leadership, and commitment to forging a path towards a bright future for all. So if you look at the last sentence that I read, you will see that it is all encompassing. Talks about collective efforts, the we. It talks about visionary leadership, the government, and a commitment to forging a pathway towards a brighter future. The commitment part now takes care of the big corporations, which entails that they have to show commitment to the environment that gives them the profits that they crave. You understand? So once we consider all these things, like I said, all these three things, we will find a very, very wonderful solution that will help us to mitigate climate change to its barest minimum. So moving very fast, I think my time is well spent. So in conclusion, climate change requires urgent action from all of us. Policies and technologies serve as wonderful tools in mitigating and adapting to its impact. By harnessing renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, promoting electric mobility, and leveraging technology advancements, we can significantly progress towards a sustainable future. Collaborative efforts by big corporations and people engagement further enhances our ability to combat climate change. Let us unite our efforts and take actions to safeguard our planet for the future generations. No greed, just green. So that is actually the end of my presentation. And at this juncture, I want to thank the GG Sam Balikis, the GSAM on duty, Anu. I really, really appreciate you guys. And of course, special appreciation to you for staying put and listening to me. I hope you learned a few things. I just hope so. Thank you so much. My contacts are displayed. If you have any question, you can always reach me through my email, my phone number, and my social media spaces. So once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate the audience, and I think I'm ready to take questions.
Thank you so much, GSAM Chris. A sustainable round of applause for our GSAM. Thank you so much for enlightening us so much. As you have all heard, he said no green, just green. Don't just shout no green. Walk the talk. Walk the talk. As you can see, GSAM carried us step by step with the technological aspect of how we can mitigate climate change. Any area you find yourself, just always find the connection of how you can use your space to ensure we are mitigating climate change in one way or the other. So any question for GSAMs for GSAM Chris?
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. You can
Okay,
go ahead.
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you greatly for the presentation. Um, I have this question. You were saying something about the what's it called? Those who contributed to the climatic change, and then with focus on corporate bodies, the government, and then we I mean there was something around that side. So my I know you said something about um corporate body are meant to do it. Like I'm just trying to figure out, is it they are meant to do it or they are bound to do it? Because I mean, for example, let's use Nigeria as case study. The the oil exploration around the Niger Delta area has actually polluted their environment in the sense that their water is no longer something they can take, right? So I feel it's actually their responsibility and they should be held to it, not that they are bound, they are meant to be bound to it, not that they are meant to. That's just my take on it. That's just what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I think it's actually you're correct. You're very right. I believe we all know what is called social responsibility. Do you understand? So it's one social responsibility for its body be held for their actions. So yes, I think I agree with you. It's not We're not supposed to be begging them. It's something they must do. It's something they must do to contribute their quota to the fight against climate change, which most of the time is being caused by by their own activities in the environment too. So yes, I agree with you. Thank you so much.
Any other question?
Yes, good evening, colleagues. My
Good evening. We
question,
can hear you. Go on.
yes. So I just need clarification. There is a slide that Gisam shared, and then he mentioned that developed countries are actually contributing a lot to climate change. So my point of view is, as greenies, how are we going to be able to stand in front of these people? Because we actually believe that most of these foreign countries that we call developed, in quotes, they are the people that are actually funding a lot of climate change. And also, if we look back at history, these are countries that were developed even before the climate started to change. Yes. So how are we able to justify that point? Because I feel like also African countries, we as the underdeveloped countries, are also contributing really to a higher extent to the climate change. Yeah, because if you look at how it is and the statistics right now, it is really going crazy. So how do we have to give justification of developed countries really doing a lot towards this effect and negatively? How do we stand in public and say that? Because I also feel like there is need for us to speak about these things, but in a way that is not really putting out a different picture out there, because we must think green. So maybe we have to only spread positivity, but in a way that really gives a positive impact as well.
Okay, thank you for that question. I think there is it's not rocket science, the fact that some of these very developed advanced countries contribute more
or have contributed more to climate change than some of the developing countries because of the what can be linked to industrialization and what it entails to produce some of the materials and goods that these big countries push out and is the main source of their revenue as a country. So yeah, Africa and the underdeveloped world in general have contributed also to climate change. But truth is, we have not done as much as these countries have done. But in reality, we suffer more from it. I think somebody mentioned something about the Niger Delta and oil exploitation, pollutions, and all that. If anybody is conversant with the Ogoni land and the Ogoni people, you will know about the Ogoni cleanup that the federal government of Nigeria and the Ogoni people have been going back and forth for a while. And I think it finally kicked off very recently. So what I'm trying to drive at here is the level of commitment that needs to come from these countries or these advanced countries that have contributed more to climate change should and must be higher than that's coming from the less developed countries. I'm not saying that the less developed countries should fold their hands and sit tight and just leave everything to be done by these advanced countries. But I'm saying that the advanced countries are called advanced countries because they are well ahead in terms of technology advancement and all that. So the efforts they put into the research they put into finding new products, finding new markets and all that can also be directed to finding new solutions to climate change, which in turn will help save these underdeveloped or developing countries from the problems caused by climate change, which by extension is not even caused by them, but caused by these other big and advanced countries. So if I get your question right or your comment right, I think the main thing we need to focus on is solution. Whether you are the small country or you are the advanced country, solution is the main focus for everybody. And once we can come together and find these solutions in all capacities, whether you're very much advanced or you're still coming up in your journey as a country, once we can find these solutions and implement them in our little capacities or in any capacity that we can, then we have done the most we can. And I'm sure that posterity will judge us fairly for doing that. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, please, you have. That's a bit clear.
Thank you so much. So do we have any other question? So like I said, my email is was displayed. So if you have any more questions, I think we have spent a lot of time here. So if you have any more questions, you can reach out to me through my email or my number on WhatsApp. I'm actually in the group for the academy, so you can reach out to the Gigi Sam. She will be very grateful to share my contact if you need to interact with me directly. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gisam, for your time. Now, Greenies, let's locomote back to our WhatsApp group. Thank you. Thanks for staying to the end. You can all leave now.